Lives. Woo! Here we go. Make them
Whoop,
up.
whoop.
Woo! You are looking live at the GovCast from South Florida. Holiday time. Christmas. Jingle bells. Woo! Here we go. Rounding out the year. Final mile. We're going. Where the heck is Ray?
All the way. We're at the home stretch, baby.
Well, that is perfect because your Baltimore Ravens will be playing at 3. What is it? 3, some goofy time today. 3. I think the Ravens are playing at 3:30 today. This afternoon against the Steelers.
Yeah, I know they're playing the Steelers.
Crazy. You know why they're playing at 3:30? One, because of COVID got pushed back. But the reason they're playing in the afternoon instead of the night, NBC said, listen, we paid a lot of money for the tree lighting. We don't want the tree lighting to get pushed back. So the Ravens Steelers got displaced by the
priorities. It's priorities, Jack. Tree lighting over NFL every day.
You would think only in 2020 would it be what is it? Wednesday afternoon NFL football game. So crazy. So, hey, happy holidays to everybody. We are in December in South Florida. It feels like it's -30. It's only 45 degrees, but everyone down here, if you looked outside, you would be like, oh my goodness, everyone has their parka, gloves, snow boots. I mean, it is ridiculous this morning. I went outside.
I got my long sleeves on here.
Everybody's bundled up, holiday time. So, and then on Christmas Day, it'll be like 85 degrees. So, Listen, my name's Jack Siney, your host. I think you know Stevie B.
Stephen Bryan here, the Dean of GovSales University. It's a pleasure, Jack. 2020 is coming to an end. I think we got a couple more left in the year.
Finally, the year has come back to wherever we are. Listen, and Dre's out vacationing again. She's heading south, living the dream as an engaged woman. Her and her man heading down to Mexico to chill. They got COVID canceled, but now they're back in the mix. So it's just Steven and I holding down the fort today.
Yeah, and if anybody's looking for a sales position or maybe a manager, I don't know where Andre is at. I guess she's traveling. So there's a spot open. So send your resumes, connect with Jack on LinkedIn. And
she's always selling out your spot, Steve. Every time you're not here, you're like, we got an opening on the show. So Dre, if you're watching and listening, we do have a third spot. That spot, we're going to do auditions. If you can kill time, you got to be relatively intelligent and know how to search on our database. She carries Steven and I through all the technical stuff.
We got a great training program, though. We'll help them out, right?
Go to GSU. What a great segue, Steve. What about GSU? What's happening in December for GSU?
Yeah, so I guess what's today? So we probably got only like 2 more GovCasts, right, left in a month. And then we're going to have our webinar on December 16th, same time, 12 noon Eastern time. And you could tune in. And what we're taking is course content from GovSales University and putting it into the webinar. So it's going to be live. You can ask questions. It's going to be great. It's all about the basics of government sales. Because the number one question we get asked, people are always, all right, great. I want to sell the government. I know they spend $7 trillion a year. I sell widgets, and they spend $10 million on widgets. But where do I start? Where do I begin? Those are the 2 things that people are always trying to figure out. So come on in. That's what we do. We'll teach you the basics, where you need to begin, and set you up on the right path to help out your 2021 Gov sales plan or sales plan. Bring government into your sales plan.
Totally. Listen, I think we say it all the time. Like we hand out a bunch of information through this GovCast, and if you follow our LinkedIn and all those things, but number one question Steve mentioned we always get asked is, hey, where do I start? How does it start? And so we have really tried to throw a lot of resources against the wall and have it stick. But ultimately, what the webinar is, it's trying to connect them, right? Like, hey, literally step by step, where would you go and how do you start? Because again, Steven just mentioned, we want to give you the framework. So when you go into 2021, you can actually start selling to the largest prospect in the world, federal, state, and local agencies, literally spending $7 trillion a year. You probably know that pitch, $20 billion a day. It's a sick amount of money. If you're not selling to the government, you're a knucklehead. And not only that, the government always pays. Going to be super important in 2021. So do not miss the webinar. What is it? The 16th, Stephen? The 16th?
16th. Hey, Jack, guess what?
Yo.
The government buys everything.
Yeah. What is it? Wednesday, December 16th. That's what, 2 weeks from today.
Yep.
Noon. And listen, there's not a big sales pitch to it. and we'll try to make it as short as possible. Right? I'm not trying to suck you in for, we're trying to suck you in for like an hour of your time. So should be great.
Yeah.
So we'll welcome you to go register. It'll be a great use of your time. Grab your lunch, sit in, and we'll try
It's
to make
free. Why wouldn't you do it? Enjoy your lunch with us. Or your breakfast if you're on the West Coast.
There's a lot of free stuff, man, and most of it's boring and horrible, and so.
We'll try to make it as entertaining as possible, but also give you good takeaways that you can apply to your sales strategies.
Yeah. Oh, look, somebody said up in Chicago it's in the 20s. Yeah, we're not there. So I'm sorry, Jennifer. Sorry about that. So, I went out for a run this morning. People looked like they were about to go skiing. I was like, oh, it's only 47. Come on now, let's go. So. Today is one of those perfect days for me because our guest today, Gary Rogers, actually played professional football and is now a motivational speaker. And those are two of my favorite things in life. My vice of choice is football. Love football, all types, high school, college, pro, and love the motivational game. Whoever you follow, from Gary Vee to Tony Robbins to Grant Cardone to Zig Ziglar, old school, to whoever, Tom Hopkins, whoever your Jeffrey Gitomer, whoever your person is, David Goggins, love all those folks. And so today we're really blessed. We're going to combine both of those. Any other pre-items, Stephen, before we bring Gary in? Anything else?
Let's bring in G-Raj. Bring him on in.
Gary Rogers, welcome to the show. So we want to welcome Gary Rogers, founder. He's the founder of Check Your Game. He's over in Tampa too, freezing. I see you.
It's cold out here.
Are we doing cold? Hold on. I gotta. Hold on. I'll be back. Don't go anywhere.
We got the show going, Gary.
This actually feels good. I mean, this is pretend, but it is pretty cold.
It is cold. Look, in Florida, we're like, what the freaking?
I love that.
I think there's 10 degrees difference too from like North Florida and South Florida, like where you're at. So it's probably like 40 where you're at, Gary, right?
I think it was 44 or 45 last night or something.
I think it's about to snow in Florida. Then we'll hit the radar. We get some snow.
I wouldn't mind some snow.
Yeah. I grew up in Maryland. It's so funny. My daughter was on a call this morning telling people about what it's like to be cold. And I'm like, you grew up in Florida. Like, what do you know about cold?
You don't know about cold, yeah.
Right. Even mid-Atlantic, snowstorms. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
So, Gary, tell folks a little bit about your background, why you're here today. Tell them how you got. Give them the G-Rod story.
This is going to be my motivational speech right now.
Amen.
No, actually, I'm not going to do that quite yet. Let's see. What about me? Where do I start? Hey, Jack, where do you want me to go? Where do you want me to start with?
Wherever you want. Why don't you start at Vanderbilt? Because that'll check a lot of boxes for people. You're like, hey, if I'm smart enough to get into Vanderbilt, I got to know something. I'm all good from that point on. So,
you know what? It's interesting. I'll talk a little bit about Vanderbilt, but I think it even goes back further because a part of my story, the reason why I got into Vanderbilt, I'm not saying that I had like this. I wasn't like a 4.0 student, but I wasn't like a 2.0 student in high school. I mean, like in high school, I was okay, 3 point something or other. But, when I look back at some of these guys and girls that went to Vanderbilt from my high school, I'm like, these guys were all smart. They're really smart. And I'm like, I wasn't in their math class. I wasn't in that English, those AP classes. And so, I mean, honestly, we all know that athletes, they can get in the door. It's kind of like what happened with, some of the actresses and stuff, the kids getting in the UFC.
Oh, yeah.
They're athletes. They have to say that their kids are athletes because there's some ways to get in the door. And that was probably, part of the reason why I was able to get in the door. I wasn't like totally smart. I wasn't dumb. But anyway, I got in playing football. So playing sports. But yeah, so Vanderbilt, that's an interesting.
Vanderbilt, the Ivy League of the South, right? Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, that's what they say. But, after I experienced my 4 years of going through school, graduating, I realized I don't know I think what's more important than like graduating from Vanderbilt is it could be like it could be any school. You could go to any school. It's just like, going through school up to your potential, going to class, taking classes that you're thinking like, hey, I want to do this in my future. And so let me, go to business classes, or instead of like taking the easy classes or the ones that all the football players are in, or because see, for me, a part of my story is I was taking like kind of the easy road when it came to school. You know, it was really the focus was me and football. And so I wanted to find highs in life. And I didn't want to get up at 8 o'clock in the morning to go to a class that really would have been beneficial for me in my future. I would get out of that class and maybe say, okay, what classes are at 10 or 11 because I want to sleep, or what classes are easy because I didn't want to work.
I think that's every kid when they first get there, they're like, I'm not getting up at 8 o'clock. I'm not getting that's finished.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you guys, what do you think about that? I mean, like when we're young, we're young and mostly dumb, right?
But Gary, tell folks about your football experience there. And then Gary's being very humble. He went to actually play professionally. So connect those dots.
Well, so just as far as the football goes, went to Vanderbilt. I was a free safety in high school. So I was a skinny guy, right? 180 pounds, 185 pounds. As soon as I get to Vanderbilt, I mean, I'll just be honest here, right? Jack and Steve, you both said anything goes, say whatever you want to say. So you want me to do that, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
So I was like, I was a DB going in there, but I was a white DB, and that really wasn't working, I mean, so I was like, right away, linebacker, right?
Put some meat on that.
I'm like, what was that?
Put some meat on that kid.
Yeah. I mean, I was a linebacker, put some meat on him, and let me tell you what, it was not easy. I mean, I can remember my freshman year, every single day I'd go to practice. I was stressed. I was skinny. I was light. I was weak. I wasn't as fast. I knew the drills, warm up, that's all great, but I knew what was coming after that. I knew we'd be doing one-on-one drills. I knew there's this guy, Jeff Mays, I'd have to go one-on-one with. And he was just like a running back, receiver type, but fast and strong. And I knew I was going against these big linemen who just would run me over. And every day was so stressful. So you got school, you're stressed. You got relationships that I'm stressed about. And then I go to practice and it's like, I'm stressed. Then I finish practice. Then I've got to study. Then I've got to eat and trying to gain weight. And then I'm like eating my heart out and I just can't eat enough to gain weight. And it's like, it was just a struggle. It was a real struggle freshman year, sophomore year. And on top of that, my first 2 years, we were pathetic. And like I talked to Corey Harris, Steve, we were talking earlier about Corey, played for Baltimore, played for about 5 or 6 teams, but Corey was an amazing athlete. He was a kick returner. He was a receiver. He was a DB. He was a multi-faceted athlete. But Corey and myself, we were talking last night about a couple of these years at Vanderbilt. It was rough. We weren't winning. And I mean, you put on, with all this stress and then you're not winning, it was a nightmare. I mean, it was like pretty much like hell. You're like, this is not fun. And some of the things, I'm not going to go into that, but man, I sat there at Towers 2, looking out my window. I think I was on the 4th or 5th floor, like looking over, thinking, man, I could take care of this right now. And I'm not even kidding.
But listen,
I mean, that's how you.
It's so true, Gary. Sorry to interrupt. Was like people always see the success, right? When we get to your story, and again, Gary played professional football in Canada for several years, so he is a real deal. Got into Vanderbilt, but as you hear his story, like folks always see the end game, right? They always see people succeed, and they're like, "Oh, you had it easy. It must have been good." And that process, my son played college football as well. That process of your freshman, sophomore year, trying to put on weight, you're playing. You're still basically a young kid playing against grown men that might go into the NFL. It is. The difference between a senior, 5-year senior, and a freshman in college football is immense. And folks that same getting beaten up and getting ground down and trying to manage your time applies in life, right? Like all those same things happen in life. People see the success. No one wants to make it through their freshman, sophomore year, right? That's when all the rubber hits the road, right?
Yeah, you're right, Jack. And, I'm also thinking about the mental toughness. When you're young, you don't have it.
Yeah.
As you get older, you start to develop this mental toughness. And I could say to a young kid, I could say a kid in high school, a freshman who might be playing on the varsity, I could say, if you could take my brain and put it into your body, even though you're weak and skinny and whatever else, you would be running things. I mean, really, this is a big part of it.
Yeah.
Because as I got mentally tough and I realized, oh my goodness, if I could have gone back with what all I've learned and who I've played against and dealt with and how I handled myself, wow, it'd be like, who is this Gary? This freshman guy, man. This dude is so skinny, so weak, and he's not on the same page, but he keeps on beating me.
Yeah.
He's quick, he's fast, and he's not listening to the coach saying, go head up against a 300-pounder. He's like, no, I'm going to get my butt kicked. So I'm going to step aside, put a little juke on, get around, and win. You know, like, there's like so much to that mental toughness and like things that you've learned over the past, which are so helpful. But like you said, Jack, you know, there is a lot of, you know, when you're kicking back on the couch, holding your control, watching these games, man, that's just too easy. In air conditioning, if it's hot out, it's too easy. There's a lot going on, a lot of stress that's been happening, and, you know, tough times, you know.
Gary, I love how you just brought up mental toughness, right? Like taking your brain and put it to a kid. And that's only taught through experiences, right? Because that's why you get it later on in life, because you paid your dues, you found out, and you paid the hard way, and you want to make it easier for generations coming up. But again, they're going to be stubborn and say, hey, you don't know what you're talking about, you know, man, like, you know, let me figure it out the hard way. Like, that's just the youth, right? Because we all think we're smarter and we know it better. But when it comes down to mental toughness, I think that's a big part of, you know, business as well, because in sales, you know, we talk about government sale and selling to the government. It's always trying to figure out, you know, okay, what can you do, right? How can you help these government agencies, right? But if you don't sell the government currently, that's okay. You're helping the private sector. But it's about having that mental toughness, because sales is a tough game. I would say, I don't know, 80% of the time, Jack, I don't know if there's stats out there, but there's certain rejection that you encounter, right? And you were talking about Vanderbilt going through some winless games. Like, how do you, you know, correlate that, you know, from the business world to like gain that strength? Like, what lessons can be learned from sports of what you did to make you mentally tough that could also be applied to that business world to, you know, help you succeed? Because when the times are down, like, it is hard to overcome. When times are great, everyone's celebrating. Oh, we won. It's great. We got that sale, or, you know, we won that football game. Those are the easy times. So when times are really tough, you said you got relationship problems, your grades are slipping, and your team's not doing good. Like, how do you overcome that? Where did you pull from to get that inspiration to excel and get that next sack, or, you know, everything that you did to accomplish your goals?
Yeah, that's a lot of stuff going on there, man. I think we could talk for like a 12-hour conversation about all that. But wow. You know, I think what happens is when we're not well, first of all, to get mental toughness, I think it's important to go through the experiences, but I also think it's important to get others to help you to deal with that. Now, of course, when you're a kid, you don't want to listen to your parents. You don't want to listen to those that are closest to you. And that's why it's important for a kid playing sport. Maybe it's a coach, maybe it's a friend of your parents. Like, they've got advice. You got to listen. You got to reach out. You got to reach out to people who have been there before. And so, Jack and Steve, for those who are getting in your business or who are a part of it, who are feeling like, hey, maybe I'm not very tough with this game, the sales thing, reach out to people. You guys have been through it. You know what to do. You can connect them to people that have been through it. And so I think people can learn mental toughness. You know, of course you go through experiences, but I think you can still learn from other people. And I'm sure that both of you guys, you want to do that. You want to encourage people and say, hey, do this, try this. And, you know, be their cheerleader and say, look what you did. I mean, it's just like a coach. It's just like a coach teaching a kid. He doesn't know how to tackle. It's not like we come out babies and like we want to hit people and tackle people, right?
That's a beaker blast right there.
Yeah. I mean, like, that's not like something that's normal unless you're at home getting beat. I mean, like, you know, beat with a stick or something. Then you're kind of like, hey, yeah, I'm here to tackle people, right? And some people are on that page. But I mean, I remember talking to this young kid in high school, and just kind of helping him say, listen, This is what's going to happen. This is going to happen. This is what I want you to do. And you got to trust me. Jack and Steve, you got to do the same thing to employees or people that, that are a part of your business. Hey, trust me. I've been through it. I know the highs and lows, ups and downs, how they're going to say no. If they say no 5 times, you're going to have to ask again, because I know between 6 and 8, they might say yes, right? And so that's all I was doing with this kid. And to watch that kid I'm getting chills, by the way. I don't know what's going on. My whole body, if you could see it, I'm getting chills, and I'll get chills on chills, actually. I get chills on chills. That's like a song, but I can't sing. Chills on chills, But and to watch a kid, make a play, wow, it's just amazing. I'm jumping up and down, and I'm celebrating. He looks over at me, and he's celebrating. It's like, you can do it, And I think what it takes a lot of times, he went through the experience, but it also takes a coach. It takes some encouragement. And so to get this mental toughness, I think there's more. I think it can be learned slowly. And we'll talk about this later with Check Your Game, but that's a part of the reason with why I'm doing Check Your Game and sharing people's stories and experiences and their advice and wisdom. If I didn't think that would be helpful, I wouldn't be doing that. But anyway, as far as Steve, let me answer your question. So as far as sports, did that answer?
Yeah, no, it did, because that's what I was looking for. It's like you need someone to pull you up, right? Like the people that have paid their dues and pay, and people just have to be open to listening, right? Whether it's a coach or in the business world, there's people that have been in your shoes before. I promise you, you're not the only one that's going through the situation. No matter how bad it seems, I'm sure someone else has had it, 10 times worse. So yeah, I just like that you said, reaching out to, folks but finding that help, right? And I think a lot of people don't know where to go for that help. If you have a coach, that coach is picked for you. But that's what we're trying to do actually with our program, is provide coaching for government sales. Like, hey, we're here to teach you all the ropes. Jack, incredible experience, been doing this for over 25 years, over $1.5 billion in government sales. Like, this guy knows it, right? There's nothing that's going to come across his desk where he's like, I don't know what to do. Just because he's lived it. So it's been a great program. So I appreciate you sharing that.
Steve, I'll take, go ahead, Jack.
No, can you, go ahead. You just something you want to add? Go ahead.
I was just going to say, just getting to know you guys and Jack and what you do. I mean, I'm focused on Check Your Game, but I'm like, hey, what is this? What's going on with their business? Like, what? 1.5 billion?
Right. The government buys Check Your Game. I guarantee you, there's opportunity for you with the government.
So motivational speaking. Totally. Yep. You can type that in.
So before we get to Check Your Game, so Gary, can you tell folks about, so you are wrapping up at Vanderbilt and your journey to the CFL? Can you talk to folks like what that was?
Yeah. So
like, did you look at the NFL?
Eventually I started getting bigger and stronger slowly. It was a slow process, and I was doing it the legal way, which isn't easy. A lot of pressure. Like a lot of pressure to cheat, and I didn't, but man, I was tempted. I mean, I really was. I mean, it's not like an easy thing trying to compete, but I did it. And I finished, I played outside linebacker for 3 years. In my 4th year, they moved me to this position. They try to make it sound like it's a cool position. It's a nose guard, but they called it nose backer. Like, I'm a linebacker, but I'm on the center in the SEC. Hello. I'm like probably 210 pounds, and it wasn't an easy thing. And I remember calling my dad in summer camp saying, man, I don't even want to play anymore. This is miserable. I'm getting helmets. I mean, I never used to do this at outside linebacker. I'm free. I'm running all over the place. I'm using my quickness. But now at nose guard, man, there is no freedom there. You're getting double teamed. You're getting helmets across your back, on your head, on just getting crushed. But anyway, I played nose backer. It was a blessing in disguise, because at that nose backer position, I also would play like a rush end. I would play, when Florida's playing, there are 5 receivers. I would, be covering tight ends, and I'm doing different things. I was just a multitasker. I could play a bunch of different positions, but it taught me about pass rush. Because at some point when I got to the CFL, that was an important thing. But anyway, so I finished my 4th year. I think I had a successful. My last 2 years were pretty successful. We had really good teams. Won a lot more games than the previous 2 years. I think I was like an all SEC something or other. I mean, I didn't even know. They told me I got all SEC. I'm like, I did. I was second team all SEC, but man, I'll take anything all SEC because the SEC is just legit. But and so I finished playing football, and I was like, I am free. Oh, it felt so good. I'm free to do whatever I want. No coach is telling me to get to practice and to run and to lift. And it's like, I've been dealing this for 4 years straight, and it's tough. Well, anyway, I played basketball, played intramural. I remember I've always had ankle injuries. I sprained my ankle at some point, and in that spring, I was done. I was hardly walking. There was no trying out for teams. There's nothing. And I'm like, hey, I'm good. I don't want to play football. I'm tired of football, right? And everything was good until I graduated. I went back home for a month, and I got these friends. They're playing the NFL, or they're being invited to camps. And I'm like, wait, I still want to play football. And so I drove back down to Nashville, and I'm not going to go into detail about this, but man, I've been writing a book, for quite some time, and it's a part of my chapter. I went down to Nashville. I had a BP gas credit card, and I had 20 in my wallet. That's $20. $20. That's it to my name. I had my car, I had gas, and I had $20, and that was a rough year. I went down for the purpose to play football at the next level. And so that entire year, man, between sleeping on players' couches and getting kicked off of their couches because, like they want some money or something, working at this bar, Exit Inn at Vanderbilt, like just to, make ends meet. I worked at I think it was a UPS third shift. Man, there's some interesting stories. It's in the book, man. And there's a really good story about that one. Coming home at 5 a.m. and running out of gas, man. I would love to share that, but it's not enough time. But anyway, I continued lifting weights, working, trying to survive. And then, of course, the NFL's coming into town, and the season's over. They're working out players from this past year, not me. I've been out a year, right? And honestly, I don't want to get into this too much, but I wasn't invited. They didn't want me on the field with my with ex-teammates of mine. An ex-coach said, nope, we don't want you on there. It was tough. I went out there anyway, and they're like, who are you? I'm like, I'm Gary G. Raj. They call me hype. I got lots of energy. I could run forever. I never quit. I had to give them my little bio or whatever. The only thing they want to know is how high can you jump? Yeah. It's the first thing. How high can you jump? And I jumped pretty high. I jumped pretty high. I don't know my vertical. My vertical was like 35.5 was like my highest, which is pretty good, but I don't know at that point. Maybe it's 33, 34 when I jumped, and they're like, all right, okay, 34. That's legit. Let's what's your name? What's your name? Oh, I'm Gary. Oh, what number? They started taking notes. But anyway, long story short, I didn't have any opportunity. No NFL team. I wasn't any free agent. They didn't call me. And so I kept on working out because I'm going to start working out for some NFL teams that are coming in individually. But long story short, my friend, Sagamore Spirit, one of the founders, Jack, like I was talking to you, Bill McDermott, founder, with Kevin Plank of Under Armour. I was good friends with him. He was in my class, or a couple of years below me, but I'd always go to his family home in Atlanta. And so Mr. McDermott, Bill's dad, calls me. He says, listen, he says, hi. He's like, I got this guy from the CFL. He's working out players down here in Atlanta. And you need to get down here. So long story short, I drive down there. I run. I jump. I'm doing one-on-ones with linemen. There's no pads or anything. We're just, it's like full speed without a helmet and pads. You do the best you can do. At the very end of the day, there's a bunch of players, good players out there. And at the very end of the day, they called out a few names. I just sat there. I kind of forget, but they said, Gary. I was like, oh, me? They called me. So I signed contract that night with Mr. McDermott, got to the CFL.
Wow.
And you know what? It's all starting over. I mean, I'm a freshman again. Oh, yes, man. Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
You see that helmet right there?
Yeah.
See that? When you come back to me.
Oh.
So I got that helmet. That's gonna be my hat I was gonna wear, but it's hard to do with these. It all starts over. But now, what happens instead of like, hey Gary, you're not fast enough, slow enough, get on the sideline. Yeah, you'll still get your scholarship. You can still go to school. Instead of this, if you're not good enough now, it's like you're not going to the sideline, man. It's an everyday battle. Like you might be getting a ticket home, like a plane ticket home.
Mm-hmm.
And it's rough, man. Talking about mental toughness, man. You get to be real strong. You have to get real strong, real fast. And when you get into situations where at the end of a practice, and you'll get the last cuts or like the next day. And when they say, I need a couple players at the end of practice, I need Gary and I need, John and I need 3 offensive linemen and I need, the quarterback, like, hey, they got us going one-on-one. And I know what happens. They're cutting somebody like that. You're going to play an extra 15 minutes one-on-one. And I remember, I'm getting chills again, by the way. I could get chills all day thinking about this. I'm getting chills because, man, I don't wish that upon anybody. Are you kidding me? People, like, they go through life, they go through jobs, and it's tough, but they don't get cut like that. I mean, every day my life is like, I could get cut any day until there's a certain date, for a better, and then they can't cut you. But I remember times like that. It was hard. But long story short, my freshman year, we'll call it my rookie year. Again, there's a lot of stories, but for the sake of time, you just want to hear, like, I made the team that year on practice roster. Hey, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
I was sick that year. I was out like 8 or 9 practices in a row. And I thought, man, I'm done. There's no way. I'm out 4 days being sick, and they're going to keep me. But no, I played in a preseason game, and it's like, hey, make plays or don't make plays. And when I'm saying make plays, I don't mean just like, keep your gap, make sure you have contain, make sure you make the tackle. That's not plays, man. Plays is make the sale. You can't just like, I went through everything and they want me to call them back in a few months. No, it's like, you make the sale today, or you make this sale, you're going to have to make another sale and maybe another small sale. You might need 3 sales today, Gary. And I was out there trying to make sales, man. I was like, what does it take to make the sales? I know I got contain, but you know what? I can't just do contain every time. I'm going to have to come underneath this tackle if I want to hit that quarterback and get a sack. I mean, there's times when it makes sense. And so I just did some different things and end up making the team on practice roster because of this last opportunity in the preseason game and made that team. And again, lots more stories because in the next 6 years, I played, lots of stuff going on.
That's a great story. I'm sure there's a lot more. So did you say the book's out or is it in progress?
No, it's not out. It's in Microsoft Word version. I got like 30 chapters. And one of those chapters, what I was telling you, when I was at UPS and I was coming home and I ran out of gas, this was like a pretty tough time. It would seem like a rock bottom, but I had another rock bottom a little bit further. But I call this chapter, it's called The Happy Mexicans. And it's amazing. It's an amazing chapter.
Let us know when the book releases. I'll check it out.
Yeah, it may be some time, but when it does, I'll let you know. But yeah, it's a great chapter. The Happy Mexicans, they were an amazing group of men, and they helped me. Man, they saved me. They saved me is what they did. And it was a miraculous time, but I don't want to go and spoil it.
No, I get it. No, I know you're doing a lot with Check Your Game as well, right? And just how you're sharing your stories and, how you are, helping and coaching. And you've interviewed a lot of, I guess, professional or college football players and other people in other sports as well, tying in the game. But is there any common thread that you're starting to see, like as far as patterns, throughout those stories that you're like, hey, like this is what they did, this is how they overcame, and then this is how they were successful?
Yeah, there's a definite pattern. And by the way, I do have a lot of athletic stories, a lot of football players and different things like that, because I played football and a lot of my friends are football players. But really, anybody can share on Check Your Game. There's stories from people that are not athletes, or they could be athletes, they could be mothers, they could be kids. I've got my certain market, but it's hard to keep like, oh yeah, my market is the midlife level. No, there's lots of people that have stories, and I want to share them all. Cool. And I know that they can be encouraging others. But anyway, there's this one common thread I'm finding, and that is like humility, being humble, being humbled. It's like you've heard the saying, be humble or be humbled.
Yep.
Doesn't that happen? You either be humble or you're going to get humbled at some point.
Always somebody, wrestler. There's always somebody who's better, smarter, has more money. Always.
Absolutely. And so that's the common thread, with a lot of these stories. I mean, you can't go through, I'm not getting anybody that says, I went through sports, I was the fastest, I was the strongest, I was I knew the most, I was the smartest, I was the hottest guy, all the girls loved me, I picked my girlfriend, I finished, I was like the top dog, Heisman winner, I got the number one in the NFL draft. I mean, life has been great, my family's great, the kids are great, got lots of money, got this nice big house. Man, my situation, my life is so shiny, you need some of those sunglasses that Jack had on a few weeks ago, with the little, ridges or whatever. I saw those, Jack. But you know what? This shiny on the outside, like there's not stories like that, because first of all, I mean, that's not really the case in life, but who wants to listen? Who wants to take advice from that? What advice do you have to give? You haven't learned anything. Everything's been great for you. But with the people that are sharing on Check Your Game, when they get down to it, for the most part, if they want to be transparent, not all stories are totally transparent, but when somebody really dives into their story, there's some kind of humbling that took place, because we don't want to get better. We don't want to get better until we're humbled, right? I mean, like, who wants to get better if you're always winning, right? You're not going to like, hey, I'm going to try to get better if you're winning, if you're selling everything. No, it takes like, man, people keep on saying no to me. I can't sell anything. I don't know what the deal is. And I'm getting yelled at by people, and I'm not making money. And I'm like, this is miserable. And then at some point, something just like, you're like, I'm tired of this.
Yep.
I'm tired of this. I'm tired of being at this bottom.
Yeah.
No, they're not going to say no to me. They're going to say yes to me. I got something good to share. I got a story. I got a story that's important, that's unique. I got a story to encourage people. I got a story that's going to help impact not just people, in my lifetime, but forever. As long as my website's up, your story can impact people forever. And so it's people that have got these humbling moments when they're like, they then changed. They turned and they said, man, this isn't working. What do I need to do to get better? And it takes some action, it takes some different choices. It takes some, following a different crowd, maybe getting rid of some friends, maybe studying in school, maybe running for your sport, trying to get in shape, maybe a change in, going out at night, a change, you got an addiction, saying no to something that you always say yes to. But usually, when I got this guy who's talking about, he had this addiction, talking about alcohol, it took him losing his keys and not being able to make it to work. And I think that was like his last straw. He says, you know what? He must have done this before, but this time he missed work. And he's like, I've had it. You know what? No more. Like, I knew what happened the night before. I got drunk and I can't find my keys. I can't get to work. I'm not living to my potential, because you know what I really want to do is I want to be a coach. I want to coach diving. And there's this amazing story by this guy, Ray, who's on my website, Ray Noble. And it's funny because like most people, they all say the same thing. They all say, I don't think my story's that big. I don't think it matters. I don't think it's that impactful. I'm like, I read his story and I read other. I'm getting chills again, by the way. Did you guys want to hear about the chills or not? I mean, I really am. I'm not like, this is like not for like, hey, Gary's got the chills, man. He's motivational.
Trademark that. Gary's chills.
Got the chills. And so, you know, that story's on there. But these people, these men and women who don't think they have something important, Steve, like they've got something really impactful. And so they share this, and when they're transparent, they got this humbling moment. And I don't want to say, because I ask people on my questionnaire, I say, talk about your, you know, 2 questions. I want to hear about your story and this check your game moment. But really, check your game, it means what it says. Check is to examine. Yours about oneself. And game is defined as a business, your passion, a sport, and also the game of life. And so check your game is really about you examining your game of life. And I call it your check your game moment. But really, that's really, it's kind of like the time when you've been humbled and you've like opened up your eyes, you've taken off the blinders, you've taken off the foggy goggles, and now you can see, you know, you can see clearly in your life. You're looking in a mirror, you're examining yourself. You're like, look what's going on. I got to change, man. I can't find my keys. This isn't happening anymore. I'm saying no to the liquor, you know, and what takes place with that? People are able to live up to their potential, you know, when you get rid of this stuff, when you make better choices. And this guy, he's a diver. He's been a diving coach for a lot of years for a bunch of high schools. And he's had Greg Louganis, I think, is one of the pictures from his site. And he knows Greg and he knows a bunch of these divers, but he's impacting kids' lives. And he would not be doing that unless he made the decision to say no to something that was not good for him. And he was humbled. He finally was humbled, probably not the first time, but losing his keys and missing work. And that's what happens to a lot of people. They've got a humbling, something that's happened and that's humbled them in life. And some people want to get deeper into that. Some people want to be maybe more surface level. That's good. You share what you're comfortable with. But the humbling thing is the short answer to that.
Okay, give folks, so Gary, from Vanderbilt to playing professional football to check your game, which is your heart and passion now. Can you give folks, I know you've mentioned it several times, tell folks a little bit about Check Your Game, how it works, the website, kind of what you're doing to motivate and inspire folks.
Let me see, how quick do I need to be? Like in 30 seconds?
You got 9 minutes total.
Yes! I love it. 9. All right. Okay. I'm going to do it quicker than that, though. But maybe not.
You get 8 and 50 seconds.
All right.
8 and 49.
Let me start right now.
8:47.
1997, I hit my rock bottom. I was living for myself. I did whatever it took to give myself a high, and I also competed at football, thinking I was giving my best. I'm in shape. I'm lifting weights. I'm making plays on the field. And so, hey, that's great. I'm doing my best. You know, I thought that was my 100% until I come into this off season, and I was miserable. I was in bed. I didn't want to get out of bed. Nothing was working out. I wasn't homeless, but I was homeless on the inside. I was just like, there was nothing I didn't feel good about anything. I changed. I made a choice. It's a little bit of my story in the about section. I talk about that, but really my story is one of faith. I'm a Christian. I basically wasn't acting like one. I was on Gary's path. I thought I created me. I thought I knew what was best, and I didn't. I believe that God knew what was best, and he's like, Gary, you need to get on a different page. You need to change your ways. You're not treating girls very good. You don't care about your education. You don't care about, improving yourself. And so for that year, I decided before I went back to play football, I was going to change the way. I was going to stay away from the bar scene, stay away from the party scene. I was going to treat girls better. You know, there's nothing it's just like, you stay away from the bar scene, it's going to help you treat girls better, right? That's a real simple thing, right? And then I wanted to buy a house, fix it up, and sell it. I wanted to do something more than just, play football. I wanted to take a Dale Carnegie class. I wanted to speak. I couldn't even stand up and say my name in class, by the way, guys. I mean, that's how bad it was, right?
Yep.
So anyway, I went through the Dale Carnegie course, and I was playing football. And there's some things, it wasn't totally easy. I mean, like I still was fighting for a job and all that stuff, but there was one play when I figured out the 100% formula. Woo! Are we going to sell that? Is there like, do you have something about the 100% formula cost $19.99?
I got the chills. Something? I got the chills and the 100% formula. Both those are trademarkable.
And so I figured out what it took to give my best. It was, I'm going to tell you, like I usually stand up, but you wouldn't see me, but I stand up. I'm on the left-hand side of the field, and the count is on 2. You know, I didn't know that at the time. They're like, down, set, hut. And when they said that hut, that first one, everybody on my team, defensive starters, all of them next to me, there's like 4 of them, they all went off sides. And I'm thinking, what in the heck is going on here? You guys, you're right. You should be, your eye is like, at the corner of your eye is looking at the ball, right? Should be seeing the ball, or some people are right on top of the ball. And I'm thinking, real quick, what happened was, not to be judging people, because I wasn't perfect then, I'm not perfect now, but I went down the line. I said, this guy, you're out at the bar all night. This guy, you're out there smoking weed before you even come to practice and just whatever. This guy, you know, I was like, going down the line, these guys were making choices outside of their sport that affected their sport. And I thought to myself, for the first time in my life, I'm making good choices here and here and here. I'm making better choices. I'm improving in these areas that aren't easy for me. It wasn't like, get in shape. I mean, that's not easy, but it was easier for me than saying no to the party scene or saying no to girls or whatever. And I say no to it. So for the first time in my life, I realized these choices outside of my sport are affecting my sport. And you know what? I'm able to stay on sides.
Yeah.
I mean, and so I'm getting, hey, Jack, I'm getting chills again. And this is what took place. They didn't stop practice, Steve. They didn't say, Gary's doing his best finally. Let's give him money. Let's give somebody, let's give him a house. Let's give him a girl, a relationship, or all these things on the outside that look shiny. No, the shiny was on the inside. I felt contentment. I felt peace.
Yeah.
You know, like that's what we're after. Because, you know, I was going after wins and being player of the game or whatever that is, a girlfriend or this, you know, this outside stuff that we all want. We all think that's what we need, but we all know that doesn't cut it. It's the shiny, it's the peace, it's the contentment on the inside. It's knowing that we've done our best. We can win the game, we can lose the game. We can get the sale, we can not get the sale. We can not get the sale for again and again and again. But as long as we know we're doing our best in our life, as long as we know we're improving, you know, what more is there to ask for? You know, you can sleep at night. And so that's what took place. At the end of the season, again, lots of stuff has taken place between this period and when I started Check Your Game. But I wanted to start something and do something I could sell year round. How much time, Jack?
3 minutes.
Oh, and so I want to start a brand of apparel. And so this is about the time Under Armour started. I think they were in 1997. But anyway, I want to start a brand of apparel, putting words together, and came up with these 3 words called Check Your Game. And I'm like, check your game. It wasn't trademarked. I'm like, oh, that's good. That's the first thing. I'm like, check your game. Check your game, man. Check your game. So you check your game.
There it is.
So
Check your game.
anyway, so
There it
I
is.
stand up again. Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
So check your game. I thought, you know, it sounds catchy. It sounds catchy, but I think it means something. I don't know. I think there's something to it, right? And so I'm like, let me look up the words, right? And I looked up in the dictionary, you know, old school, man. Now we do our phones, but you know, back then, you know, I had to go to the library, fill out my library card, get a dictionary. No, I didn't have to go through all that, but I did get a dictionary, and it says check. Oh, what's check? To examine your. I think it's about me. I'm like, yeah, it is. It's oneself. And then game. I already talked about this, but game, you know, sport, business, passion, game of life. I'm like, examining one's game of life. And I thought to myself immediately, when I hit rock bottom that winter, previous to that football season, and nothing was going good for me, and I was just at the wit's end, I made a decision to get off Gary's path, get on God's path. He opened my eyes to like work on this, work on that, work on that. And the result of those things was that I was able to stay on sides, you know? That was an experience that I'm like, I realized what it took. I'm like, it means something. I lived. I went through Check Your Game before I started Check Your Game. How does that happen, right? That was 23, maybe 24 years ago now. I keep on saying 23, but I think it's 24. So today, I was dabbling with apparel, with this, with that. I was losing. It's a meaningful brand. It's not about necessarily apparel. It's not about being cool and all these other things. It's not about wicking sweat like Under Armour. It's not about just doing it. It's about doing something in your life. It's about living to your potential and making the best choices for you and others. It's not thinking about you. It's really about serving others and thinking about others. Well, today, just in the last couple of years, with technology, I've put together I'm working on my website. It's getting revamped. I'm going to have a relaunch in January. But for now, it's doing the trick. I share stories about people who have examined their game and they've made changes, and then they give advice or wisdom. And some are just the stories in written form. There's some videos as well. The purpose of this is to be able to encourage others, and they can look up by topic. They can say, I'm dealing with peer pressure, and they can go in, put in peer pressure, and they can find out which of these people have talked about peer pressure. They can look at about improvement or, just keyword search. And so really, I want this to be a resource because I needed this resource when I was just a little kid, when I thought it's all about me and sports. And this is the way I can be the best athlete, is just to go through and make plays. But that is not correct. To be the best athlete, to be the best salesperson, the best father or wife or anything, it's not just about this focus on you and your job, your sport, whatever. It's about doing all these other things, right? I needed that. And so that's what I'm doing. Yep. I'm giving these stories to other people. Steve, I want to ask you for your story. And Jack, I want to ask you for your story at some point when you're comfortable, when it's the right time. It's not always the right time, but you guys, I know you both have a story. Everybody's got a story. And I've got a way for you to impact thousands of people. Jack, I'm probably out of time.
I'd say, look, the website is actually below, checkyourgame.com. Series of great stories. That's what Gary's dedicated his life to. Go check that website. Amazing. Gary, if folks are trying to reach you directly, what's the best way to hit you up?
Man, they can go to checkyourgame.com. There's some information, I believe, my phone number and email, as well as my email, I would just tell you, is checkyourgame@gmail.com. There's information on the About section, but I'm on LinkedIn. I love connecting, by the way. And so if anybody really, I want to connect. Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Gary likes connecting.
I love it. I love connecting. And I love serving. I love helping people. And you want my sweatshirt. If somebody's called, man, they can have it, man. I'm like, I just want to help people. It's something I'm passionate about because there's a time and I needed it. I needed Gary to help me as a little kid, as an older kid, at every stage, I needed some help. I needed an older Gary who was much wiser and who was on track. Better track in life. I needed myself, and so I want to do that for others. If I can help in any way, I will. If I can connect anybody in any way, and I'm not saying I'm the genius. I know how to do business plans, and I'm like this and that. Listen, I'm not all that. But what I will do is I'll be honest, I'll be humble, transparent, and I'll do what I can for you. So
thank you so much for your time and energy that you have today. Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Gary.
Stay safe. Reach out to Gary. What he's doing is amazing to help folks young and old get to the next level and sharing their stories. Thank you so much for your time today, bro.
You're welcome. Thank you, Steve, and thank you, Jack. You guys, thanks for asking me to be on here. I'm enjoying it. I'm looking forward to getting to know you guys.
Yes. We will
Same
be
here.
Amen. Listen, I would just say the checkyourgame.com is amazing. And so Gary's story, it's so funny. When you meet highly successful people, they all have so much energy like that and trying to cram it into this little bit of time. And I think the one thing that, Gary's very lighthearted about it, but there is a lot of messages in there. If you reach out to him, both that process of growing and getting through the rough times, because again, we all focus on the highlights, but it really is the lowlights that make us, right? And then he hit it about it really at the end, going through a life revival and figuring out, hey, the things the world offers, the things we see at everybody's Facebook and Instagram page, hey, guess what? That's all fake, right? And the world they really leave, we all have problems with at home. We all have problems with money. We all have problems with lack of success, right? And they're just real things. And the folks that are vulnerable enough to share those, and that's what Check Your Game does. Gary's sharing stories of folks that have struggled and have success and overachieved, right, Steve? It's amazing.
Yeah, I loved how you said the comment thread was staying humble, right? Because I think at the core, we all have our own problems, and to act like you don't and your poop don't stink, right? It's not true, and come off as a jerk. So yeah, the more humble you can be, because there's a science that like stay humble and hustle hard. It was like a motivational poster, and it always stuck with me because you also have to work for it, right? Like nothing's going to be given to you either, right? Like you can be a humble person, but you have to put yourself out there. You have to put in the work and you have to put in the time, pay your dues, right? But also combined with being humble, I think that's the ultimate combination for success and just living a fulfilled life, right? Everyone has a different definition of success and what that is for you, but it comes from within. And once you fix whatever's going on with the outside world starts kind of clicking, like you said, your job, the sports, the ladies or guys, whatever, you have going on. But that's really something that is learned through tough times. So I appreciate, what Gary's doing. And I think it's hard for people to open up. So for him to find those folks and share those stories is unbelievable. And I got to ask him when we're done this to see who he looks up for inspiration, right? He's helping out people. I wonder who he follows.
I think most athletes, if you follow, especially the most cocky extrovert athletes, it's not till their skills diminish that they realize, oh my gosh, I burned a lot of bridge. You wrote Barry Bonds or Allen Iverson. It's like when they need, a little grace, they've already burned it. So sometimes
great word, grace. Yes, that's it.
But in the athletic world, sometimes it comes late. But most folks get there. Allen Iverson and Michael Vick and those guys, like they get humbled, and when they do, they come out the other side better. So appreciate everyone's time. We will see you, next Wednesday for our next show. Thank you, Gary Rogers. Appreciate it. Stay safe. Happy holidays. Don't get too cold. God bless.